right. Welcome, welcome. Good evening, y'all. Thank y'all for being here tonight. We're going to give everyone a little bit of time just to, I don't know if your day was as hectic as mine. We're going to give folks just a few minutes to listen to some music, get well grounded while people come in. If you'd like to grab some water or something while we settle in, and then we'll do the formal welcome in just a few minutes.
I need some healing in my life, someone who cares, like Brandy care, yes, someone who shares all of the joy of family, one who believes we can be free, yes, we can be free. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Hey. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Mind, body, and soul, yes. I need some incense and some sage, natural capacity to pray. Live off the land, yes. Live off the land. Hey. Lend me some oil from the tree. Give me some lavender quickly. Heal from the pain. Heal from the pain. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Hey. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Yeah. Mind, body, and soul, yes.
Here we go. My galaxy was built for you and to fold. I recognize you in these constellations. It ain't complicated. Your prototype is algebraic. You fit my equation. Hold up, John. Let me sing it. I need your body and soul. And I'm done explaining, cause I told you that I want you. Yeah.
Healing in my life. I need some healing in my life. Healing in my life. I need some healing in my life. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Healing, 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 healing. Mind, body, and soul, yes. Soul, yes. Hey.
All right. All right. Welcome, y'all. As I said before we started, I know I had a hectic day. I'm assuming most of you, because we live in these United States of America in the South, that most of your days were probably, if they weren't hectic, they might have been frustrating. They might have been full of sadness, hopefully a little bit of joy too. We're going to talk about all that tonight. So welcome to the Southern Movement Assembly State of the South call. Please note that we don't have our language justice team on the call tonight, but we will try to make sure as people register for language justice needs that we can find folks to fulfill those needs. My name is Wendy Schenefeld. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the interim co-executive director of Alternate Roots and serve on the Southern Movement Assemblies Governance Council. I'm going to be one of your facilitators for this evening. We welcome you to engage in the chat by answering the check-in question if you haven't already done that. I am on Choctaw, Quapaw, and Natchez lands in Jackson, Mississippi. We have some of our folks gathered in some rural areas tonight. So the first note I'm going to say is we're going to give each other grace. Lots of grace with rural technology. So as folks might need to hop in and hop back, hop out, hop back in, we're going to just take deep breaths as we do that. And yeah, we will continue to work through what we know is a reality for a lot of people, this rural internet. So real quick, just a few logistics. These calls are recorded and then shared with SMA members and anybody that registers for the call. So if you do not want your image recorded, please go to turn your screen off. That would be helpful. We're excited to share this space with familiar and new faces. Any new people that are just joining us, we're not going to do our orientation tonight, but come on next month's call when we're all in a little bit of better internet land, and we'll have a brief orientation for y'all then. Please stay muted unless you're speaking so that we can avoid any sound interference. And lastly, if you need some support while you're on Zoom, please reach out to anybody. I don't think we have anybody actually labeled tech tonight, but I know me, Steph G, Ayana, Lou, we can help support with tech as needed. Let's see. I'm just getting grounded myself. So I think it's time for us to toss it over to Keon for grounding, unless I skip some.
Yep.
I'm looking at Ayana because Ayana helps keep me on the path. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Keon.
Yeah. So, hey, y'all, I'm Keon. I'm calling in from Mobile. And I'm a member of Spirit House. And today, what I'm going to ask y'all to do with me is take a couple breaths. So, I want you to get comfortable. You know, if you want to sit back, relax. You can close your eyes if you could feel comfortable doing that, but you don't have to. And on the count of three, I want you to breathe with me. Just take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, breathe. And again, on the count of three, I want you to breathe. 1, 2, 3, breathe. And one more time, on the count of three, I want you to breathe. 1, 2, 3, breathe. Okay. And you know, you can put this in the chat, or you can come off mute. But I want to ask three things that you're grateful for. And I'll start off. I'm grateful for my Southern Movement Assembly family. I'm grateful for my Spirit House family. And I'm grateful for having a real support system in this system that we're in. Ayana says, grateful for the sound of birds, my movement family, and to those who came before and after me. I say.
I think there you go.
Grateful for this space, grateful for the warriors in it, grateful for my family, and grateful for peace that is coming.
Seeing Marquis.
Grateful for the sun, grateful for food and comrades and community that shows up for me. Yeah. I'm grateful for resilience, wildlife, bird song, and coyotes, and spirit of trees. Grateful for the land, my health, my mind, and grateful for community. Grateful for all my neighbors who kept me real, for welcome spaces and gifts and guests, and for the necessary entanglements of wisdom. I say, grateful for our collective courage, especially among students in this moment. I say, grateful for y'all, for my folks who keep me grounded in this work. Grateful for the safe journey as I prepare, and for meeting up with some of my favorite comrades. I'm really grateful for my life right now, 3 times. I say, grateful for ancestors. I'm grateful for this space and for sharing our work with others. Okay, if that's it, we're gonna go ahead and move to the next thing, which is I want y'all to oops, I thought I was speaking. I'm sorry, didn't realize I was on mute. But we're moving on to the next thing. You touch 3 things near you and think about the space that you're in and why and who you're here for and what goal you have for tonight. The goal is to figure out how I can balance all of these things. I say, my goal is to learn. I say, greetings all, grateful for ever, thankful, and blessed. Okay. So fighting together and sharing our work with pros and cons of our work. Ours and stressful story of Monacan and indigenous people of Durham, North Carolina, ancestral land of Okanishi, Eno, Sequoia, and Saponi, among others, here to learn.
Thank you so much, Keon, for that. Greatly appreciate you.
All
I
right.
just want to invite everybody breathing into the space.
Thank you, Ayana.
Go for
Yeah,
Jordan.
we I think as folks who work in all the spaces that we work in, we try to remind ourselves to celebrate all the wins, right? It's so important to have those moments of joy, to celebrate the little wins when we get them, because there's so many threats and losses that we deal with on a daily basis. But tonight, we also wanted to acknowledge how heavy this work is, how we all have to continue to help hold each other as we move through spaces of grief. And so, as we're in that space now, again, holding that balance with joy and grief, losses and wins, I want to invite three of my favorite comrades to come into this space and help us around a political framing of this process that we're going through. And I think first we're going to kick it off to my friend Suzanne.
Thanks a lot, Wendy. My job tonight is to talk about movement heartbreak. And when you do movement work, you know, your whole heart and soul goes into it. And, you know, it gets woven into who you are, and it's woven into your feelings, and of course your wishes and your dreams. So when harm happens within the movement, it's particularly painful. It's unexpected. Many of us go into movement work because we're working for a better kind of world, and it's our work itself. If our environs don't show us that beautiful world, it's immensely disappointing to us. So I was asked to give one example tonight of movement heartbreak. And I thought I would use one from another decade that many people here haven't experienced. In the late 70s, we were beginning to create battered women's shelters to care for women who have been sexually abused, been physically abused, were living lives of horror. It was a very new thing to us. We didn't know very much about it before the 70s. And it suddenly became public because of the women's movement. Mm. And so we built shelters. And then we created a national coalition of organizations around the country. Mm. And it was quite magnificent in that 50 people multiple times a year would meet and talk with one another about what's happening in their state, what's happening in their shelters in that state, what's happening to women, what are our plans going to be, how are we going to stop this? We did training after training after training. We got into the late 80s. And I would say starting with the election of Ronald Reagan, our work that many of us were doing for free, we're doing collectively, suddenly became something that we needed to be paid for. And we did need to be paid for. But it became suddenly more professionalized. Suddenly you needed a degree to work in a shelter, whereas it was all volunteers before. And so along comes the government. Department of Justice, please, offers us a very, very large amount of money. For us, it was beyond anything we had ever seen in our work. I believe, it's uncertain now in memory, but I think it was $400,000. It may have been $600,000. And it was for us to put out information that explained what we were doing and offered people the opportunity to become part of this and to, have government backing of support. And so we agreed to do that. And our job, the main thing they wanted us to do was to create a flyer. So we did, and we did a great job of it. But in that flyer, we talked about women of color and we talked about lesbians. along with everything else. And the Department of Justice came back to us and said, no, you won't get the grant if you put that kind of information in that flyer. And we were like, what? Hell no. Of course we're going to put that information in this flyer. This is what we've been working on since the mid-70s, working interracially, working across gender. And we were committed to that. And so we had a very, very long meeting that lasts, starting one morning, lasting until early in the night, in the morning of the next night, debating whether we would take that grant or not, whether we would make the changes in order to get this money, which would have been tremendously helpful to us. I led that. At that time, I was the head of the lesbian committee on the National Council of Elders. I'm not sorry, not National Council of Elders, in the Battle Women's Movement. And so I facilitated that for all those hours. Other people working long, helping me, all of us talking, all of us debating. And in the end, we voted not to do it. We would not take it. And the very next day, the contingent of that group accepted the grant. And our movement split down the middle. So my job tonight is not to offer a solution to that or how we deal with that, but that is an example of extreme heartbreak. We're talking about a dozen years or more that we've all been working together in harmony. And suddenly that was gone.
Thank you, Far. I think next we will go to, since you're already on the mic, let's go on over to Sister Safia.
Good evening, y'all. I think my assignment was to speak about the imperative of dealing with grief and heartbreak collectively, and the movement showing example of and continuing tradition of helping organizations and individuals deal with grief collectively. And many times when individuals suffer grief, the first feeling is to go inward and to withdraw. But there's an African tradition and a movement tradition, you know, of going with bringing family in. We have a tradition of creating family, of movement family. And so you look at traditions of, and some people, you know, lately, sometimes they think about it as cumbersome, but the traditional process about wake and families and individuals bringing food and coming and sitting with movement family, blood family, and then the process of service and memorializing. Sometimes there's first a service for the family, and then movement-wise, a movement memorial where everyone, you know, the entire community comes together to honor, to pay respect in all kinds of ways. And sometimes it also gets, it's put in which is very African as well, put in a joyous tradition of going home and celebrating the life. And so, you know, psychologists and professionals, you know, they talk about the, you know, of dealing with grief and going outward, and they want to medicate, but it is the movement or the family together that draws strength for the individual organization that may go through. And so we want to just raise that as a model of proceeding on and carrying on, you know, in this particular time. You know, there's a couple of parts of the movement that, you know, I was in a meeting and we had just heard that yet another comrade had transitioned. And someone made the observation, you know, we've lost 10 people this year. And folks just kind of circled in and had to, you know, quiet for a moment because it was beginning, it's playing on us, but it's, you know, people reaching out to each other, people writing and preparing memorials and all of those things. And that gives the health and the healing of, you know, of all kinds of support for individuals, whether it's finances, or offering for places to stay, to change their routine to get away, as well as to help to build the tradition of honoring that person. And so, you know, we throw that out as one of the healthiest ways, and to continue and strengthen that tradition of standing collectively, and using our lives as a way of building movement and persevering on. And so I just wanted to try to address that and bring those traditions back to us, those lessons to us. And with that, I pass it on.
Thank you, Sister Safia. Whew. I'm just thinking about how many we missed, how many homegoings we missed during the pandemic, and how it really hits home how that piece of collective grief is so important. And now we're going to take it over to Miss Glory, who's going to close this section out for us. Miss Glory.
Thank you so much. Greetings, everyone. Glory Kilanko. I'm the founder and CEO for Women Watch Africa. I'm grateful to be in your midst and listening to Suzanne and Safi talk about heartbreak and grief brings us to the next important subject matter of movement burnout. What do we mean by movement burnout? Movement burnout is the act of involuntarily leaving activism or reducing one's level of activism. When an activist burns out, we typically derail our career and we damage our self-esteem and relationships. We also deprive our organizations and movement of the valuable experience and wisdom that we bring. Let us remind ourselves of the many years of work Suzanne shared with us, only to be disappointed. That is enough to destroy a movement. When you look at years of work, hard work that is put into it, let us ask ourselves, you know, what do we really understand by movement burnout? You know, in the first place, burnout is a form of exhaustion by constantly feeling swamped or overwhelmed, or the feelings of us pushing ourselves too much and doing too much and not taking a break to sit back and examine the extent to which we have gone, bearing in mind that the movement is greater than each and every one of us. Once we bear that in mind as to the greatness of the movement, it reminds us of where we place the movement, and then a step backward of how to take care of us and prioritize the things that we do so that we can continue to be useful to the movement. That way we continue building our movement, because in many cases, our movement have failed because of fear of unexpected outcomes, of fear of losing dear ones who were the ones championing the cause of the movement and not passing over or handing over some of the aspect of the movement. And so when such unexpected loss comes in, that vacuum becomes difficult to feel. So we should guide against pushing and overworking ourselves, working harder and harder, where we get frantic in our pursuit of success, in our pursuit of meeting deadlines, in our pursuit of not wanting disappointment. How do we, at some point in time in between the movement, step back to give our brain and body the rest? One of the things that we talk about in the Southern Movement Assembly is wellness and our health, making it a priority. How do we put wellness as part of the movement for movement success as opposed to movement burnout? I think that should be some of the conversation that we have tonight, bearing in mind the effects of burnout, which we know can hurt our home, our work, our movement, and our contribution to the movement. Thank you.
Whew. Thank you, Miss Glory. Got a little triggered when we were talking about burnout. I think that one of the beautiful things about being part of a coalition, part of an assembly, part of a formation, is this idea that we can tag in and tag out, right? But you have to trust in order to do that, to maybe minimize some of the burnout. In order to do that, you have to trust that your comrades are going to hold and be able to hold that. And you got to check in and make sure they're not burned out too. So that's what I'm thinking about. We're about to go to breakouts. I'm moving a step ahead. So can we all just take a collective breath? As we're thinking about this wonderful framing from Miss Glory, Shafia, and Suzanne, as we continue this conversation. I think it's so important during our we heard from you how important it is for us to be able to talk to each other and spend time in smaller groups talking to each other. So we're going to go into breakouts that are random. Yes. Yep. Random breakouts. And we have a few questions that will drop into the chat, but also I will name now as we're going into those breakouts. We want to think about how have you experienced heartbreak, grief, and burnout within the movement? What are some examples you've witnessed of how we're restoring ourselves through collective healing, solidarity, and community care? That's something for those of us that have been in this for more than a minute. It's like we are concerned about our own personal wellness and community care, because that wasn't necessarily a thing 2 decades ago. It was work, 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 and then you take care of the people out there, but we're not necessarily taking care of the people in here. So what are some things, some examples of really good, healthy community care? And when we come together, we know that we have much greater strength. What do you believe we can bring together as contributors to the assembly and to this Southern formation that can help us be more resilient? I know that's a word that it's overused. And yet here we are in the South needing to be resilient every day. So again, what are some ways that we can think about how we in these Southern formations that can help us be more resilient in addressing these things, the heartbreak, the grief, and exploring collective healing and community and self-care? So we want to ponder those questions. We'll drop them in the chat. We'll also send them through into the breakout rooms. I'm going to toss it just very quickly to Ayana to say how we get into the breakout rooms. If you have, I know you're in a rural area, if you have this space to be able to come off mute and say anything about breakouts.
Yes, thank you, Wendy. And good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with y'all. So what's going to happen is that you should see an option to join a breakout room right now. And it should pop up right in the middle of your screen. and just hit join. Awesome. I'm going to stick back in here for anybody that needs help. If you're on a phone, let me know and we can move you where you need to go. Well, look at that.
I know. Look, people are pros at this now. That's
Come
awesome.
on, won't we be a click and a prayer? Okay.
This is when I give my shout out. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Alita. Y'all
Hi,
need some
Lena.
help getting into breakout rooms?
Oh, there we go. Let's see. Teresa, you need some help getting into a breakout?
She also may have needed to step away. Let's turn the recording
Okay,
on.
yes, thank you.
Um,
I'm pausing.
all right. Welcome back, y'all. I always have to resist singing Welcome Back, Cotter, for those of you that are old enough to remember that, because I don't sing, but it is always an instinct when I say welcome back. So thank you, Rita, for getting my joke. I appreciate you. Miss you. All right. So we are back. We are back. We would love it if you have like one thing that was like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's something I'm going to take with me back home. Or, ooh, like that's a nugget that I need to try to incorporate into my life. If you have the one thing that came out of your breakout group that's really sticking with you, that you're going to think a little bit more about or try to incorporate, please drop it in the chat. We would love for maybe 1, 2, 3 people who want to come off mute. We got 5 minutes, 3 minutes left. We try to end on time. So anybody want to come off mute and share what that one thing from their breakout rooms is? Everybody's shy tonight. It's okay. Phone calls from friends. Ugh, I broke down on a call with Tafar Walla Muhammad yesterday because it's that one person that asks you that one question, how are you really doing? And sometimes it's a lady at the gas station. How you doing, baby? Oh. Yeah. Phone calls from friends. Power in numbers. Is that from Miss Glory? Power in numbers. Pivot, play the same game, but in a different role. Ooh. Okay. I need to think about that one. Pivot, play the same game, but in a different role. Love it. Love it. All right. Anything else from the chat that I may have missed? Anybody else? I know we're a small group today. Last chance. I'm going to say that, here we go. Thank you, April. Caring for each other, showing up for those incarcerated and left out of the medical system. So important. Thank you, April. Give it a little bit more space. All right. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm going to close this out with just a few announcements. I think one of this like phone calls from friends, caring for each other, showing up for each other. That is one thing that this space can do. I was sharing with folks in our little small breakout group that the SMA is a place that I know I can come as my full self. And that folks understand that what we're going through at Roots, they probably have either gone through or are currently going through on the other side of at whatever organization I'm talking to that's in SMA. It's a place where we don't really have a lot of judgment. And sometimes you don't need people to fix stuff. You just need to, well, we say, Ayana, just lay our burdens down. Just say them out loud, and then they don't have as much power as they had if you're holding them inside. So SMA for me is a place where we can talk to each other. And if I need some advice, it's a place where I can come and say, hey, I know you told me about that thing that happened in 1978, Suzanne Farr. Do you have some suggestions on how we're going to deal with that in 2024? Because it's the same stuff. Look, I didn't cuss. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. But ask for advice. Tap in, tap out. Oh, I'm tired. I can't show up for my community in this way. Do you have some advice on how I can support from my house instead of coming in the streets? Right. So all of those things can happen at SMA. So we encourage you to get to know each other if you don't, to find your people in this space, whether it's regionally. So you want to get with the folks from Jackson, Mississippi, hit me up. Or get with folks that are on the call that are from your area, hit them up. Maybe you want to get together around issue areas. So as you're listening in the breakout groups, this is a space for you to be like, oh, they work with folks on the inside. I want to work with them too, because that's what we do. So let's connect in that way. So I think all of those things are places where we can rely on each other in this SMA formation. As we know, all the attacks that are happening, all of the threats that are happening, we know we need to rely on each other because we're what? Stronger together. All right, a couple of other things. I know you know about the monthly call. We can't wait to see you again. When is it? The last Wednesday of every month. It's our State of the South call. We also, I think if you register for one, you register for them all. But if you're like me and you get a little anxious, just register again when you see it. Share it with your friends on social media. Oh, this is the one that I do not work in, but other people do. We have a Discord channel. If you don't know what Discord is, it's fine. I don't either. But it's a place for folks that like technology can join together in a very active chat form and share all the things. But to me, it's like, yeah, it's 52 and above. Maybe it's not our place. Maybe it is. I don't know, but it's not my place. But we have a Discord channel, Southern Movement Assembly Discord. Steph just dropped it into the chat. Make sure you register for the State of the South calls. We have a Freedom and Survival School work team. That's like a happening place. You want to get involved in a lot of stuff. That is a great place where, hold on. Where would one go, Ayana and Lou, to sign up or join? The link is expired. Thank you, April. We're going to fix that tomorrow. Where would one go to join or get information about the Freedom and Survival School work team? Email info@southtosouth.org. Stop me if I'm...
Email organize@southtosouth.org, and we'll put it in the chat.
Please drop it in the chat because I just said it wrong, loud and wrong. Organize@southtosouth.org. Thank you, Ayana. What did I leave out? Oh, who's planning on doing Summer of Assemblies? Don't know what that is? Email us and we'll tell you all about it. So yes, we're looking forward to a Summer of Assemblies across the region, and we're going to get more information out to you about that, but definitely email organize@southtosouth.org if you're interested in organizing an assembly over the summertime. All right, did I leave anything out? You know, it's late for me. It's past my bedtime already. All right, we are only 4 minutes over. We appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for being here. I love that we can look and be like, oh, only 25 people came today. I remember when that was a goal for us. But we know we've got a lot of people gathered in an undisclosed location, learning from each other and taking care of each other. So if you want a little more of this, come back next month for our May State of the South call, the last Wednesday of each month, 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern. We love y'all. Close us out.
Full of
DJ.
resentment.
Y'all
Resentment
take
that
care of
turned
each
into a
other.
deep depression. Making myself real.